On Friday, we premiered our Founders Roundtable, a celebration of our 12-year anniversary. Today, though, let's take a look back at how AIM handled the COVID-19 pandemic and the rise of remote evaluations. Okay, so we're going to talk about the pandemic, everyone's favorite subject.
Oh, gosh.
Diana mentioned that a lot has changed operationally since COVID. So tell me how you guys handled it when COVID-19 dropped.
I remember we all got on a call.
Yeah, and cried on Sunday night.
And cried.
It was a Sunday night, and I remember like, oh my gosh. Like, the first thing was that you saw it coming down, right? So it started right when spring break was happening, right? So for us, everyone's on vacation most of that spring break period in time. And I remember watching the news come in and just thinking like, okay. And then the fabled like, we're just gonna extend spring break 1 week. And I thought, that's not a good sign. And we called each other Sunday night on a FaceTime call, and we're just like, guys, we got to pivot. Like, now's the time. Like, we have to do something because this is not going to go away. And so basically the next Monday we called everyone together and we're like, we have to like change our business model 100%. We are a face-to-face organization. We require interaction at a human level. Like in terms of like someone walks in a room and we interact with them, people have to go into buildings, and now that's all gone. And so we knew immediately we had to do remote. Like remote was going to be the option, and tele and that kind of stuff. And we had to change the narrative that like, and a lot of what was going out there is that basically operations for education were just going to be suspended indefinitely. And we're like, no, there are kids that need to be serviced. There are evaluations that need to get done. We still have to identify kids. Like things have to still operate to some degree. And so we just worked on that narrative. We worked on that operation plan. We basically scrapped everything and started from scratch.
And talk about coming together as a team. I mean, I can remember asking our core group to meet here, right? And we went around the room and we floated ideas and we talked about things. And as it sort of started coming together that we were going to create this remote tele-evaluation system, everybody got a role, right? Everybody took a part of that and worked in teams or small groups and focused on how to fix or how to solve that particular issue, whether it be how do we get protocols to people, right? That was a big one. How do we get them back? Do we mail them? What are the other things that need to go with the protocol? That in and of itself was a huge thing. And then that effort was admin assistant, accountant, office manager, student, evaluator, grad students. You talk about like our concept of like cross-pollination and cross-department. Yes. That effort took almost every department we had at that time to put into action. And it was also, I think for me, maybe not for all of you, but I remember thinking, I didn't truly have the confidence that it was going to work, but I couldn't show that. I was like, gonna 100% show the face of we got this is gonna work. I'm totally confident. Internally I was dying.
And then
thinking,
the issue we had too,
I don't know,
is every hour something new would come out.
Right.
Some new like thing shutting down, this is not happening, the financial industry was going to collapse, like constant, right? And so my role was basically during that time, like I was absorbing 24-hour information truly in that period of time for like a month.
You were like a news channel.
Yes, you was.
You were.
We could tap into what's happening now. Turn Zach on and listen.
And I remember I had to stay like 24 hours just on this news cycle, absorbing all the information possible. And like I'd call them at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I'd be like, okay, this just came out. I think we pivot this direction now. Like literally the ship, like when you have a company, you turn the ship gradually most of the time. It takes time. Literally, we were like 2 degrees that way, 16 that way, 50 degrees this way. Wait, the wind's blowing. Everyone stop moving. Jump off! In the water. Back on the ship. Like
a lot of businesses went under. So did y'all feel like this could be us? I mean,
Whoa.
Absolutely.
Sure.
I started to think,
I thought it was the end.
Yeah.
I started to think, where else am I going to work? Oh God.
I think
I haven't listened to anybody, like nobody else has really told me what to do for like about 7 years now. I'm going to be a horrible employee.
But I think
and the weight of all these people that worked for us, right?
Oh,
and like feeling just the enormous pressure of what were we going to do? I remember we started off with calling everybody personally. I think we each made it through one person before we decided, I can't do it. I mean, I could barely get through a conversation without completely breaking down because it was so hard to talk to people. And so that's when we kind of wrote a letter and we sort of collaborated on how can we let everybody know what's going to happen and what the plan is, and give them some confidence that we're going to be okay, even though we're dying inside.
Yeah, because inside, I mean, like, panic, right?
Right.
But on the outside, you can't show that.
No.
But also, there was like this, I think we all came together, like, we're going to get through this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just us, there was this collective inner team that just constantly worked 24 hours. There were people who just volunteered to not get paid for a little bit because they're like,
which still floors me.
It was.
and just volunteered to just be here and be present. Like, I'm not going anywhere because Aim's my life, and so I'm just gonna still show up, you know.
And I
Sit there
don't
and
know
hope
that-
somebody else joins you in that
Yeah.
room.
I've told a couple of those people how much that meant to me, and I don't know that I told all of them. So that's something actually I'm going to think about after this. But there were either two particular people in my mind right now, and what they told us and what they did for us in that moment carried me through that entire thing. You know, we had somebody show up and he said, you don't need to pay me. I'm going to come to the office. I'm bringing micheladas for you guys. And we're going to sit around, and he went and made drinks and snacks for us in the kitchen, and then dropped this, why don't we do this? And that little thing that he dropped became the cornerstone of our pivot. And it was just amazing and unexpected. And it only happened because we had people that we trusted already, and they trusted us, and we let our guard down, while still trying to be good captains of the ship.
Yeah, I think in that moment we also be the most vulnerable we've ever been and just be real. Like, at that moment, like, I was basically just completely open about everything, because at that moment, like, that was what all the world had. You just have to be open and transparent. And I think we've actually maintained that. Like, that was actually a pivot of us. We used to not be very open about certain things, and now we're just like, this is the real honest truth, right? There is nothing else. There's no hidden agenda. There's nothing left. There's just honesty. And it actually makes things so much easier. It's hard to do it, but at the same time, you never have to second guess the intention of what's happening, because it's just the reality. It's what it is,
I think it actually led us to the best place we've been. Yeah, it was so hard and so scary, but it forced us to fix things that we suspected or knew were broken and didn't know how to fix. There was no choice at that point. It's like, it's broken. It clearly has to be fixed, or we're going to die as a company. So must be fixed now. And new opportunities presented themselves that have remained. Especially the remote assessment piece has been. I mean, it changed our business, and it's to this day. I mean,
I think it's changed the state of Texas, because it made testing available to those little towns that could never get any help. And there was no such thing as remote testing. Right. And that opened the pandemic for them opened the world. Sure. And they were able to get help that they had never been able to get before, because teleassessment and telehealth services came to be.
Yeah. So, one of the coolest things actually was that we got on a call with the Assistant Secretary of Education for the United States and pitched our idea about remote assessment. And it was so...
Did we want him to talk to the president and give his blessing?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's how high our aspirations were. We actually thought he was going to go to the president and say, I talked to these people.
Their aim.
They know what they're doing, and they would like you to tell the world that teleassessments are fine and everybody should do it. Thank you.
Yeah. I think in that moment too, like, that's how delirious we were, but also just we're gonna make it happen. Like, it's gonna happen. And so we were on that call. The guy was sitting in his house in an office, and we were all, it was the craziest.
A fleece vest on. Yeah. We thought we were gonna meeting with a man in a suit and this professional setting, and instead he showed up with his hunting trophies in the background and his little fleece vest and casually leaning on the desk, and we were like, oh my goodness,
yes, hello. So but the cool thing is that then a couple months later there was actually changes to the law for the US about teleassessment, and that was driven by us. And our name's not printed on that. It's not, it didn't say AIM did this, because they can't do that due to regulations and stuff, but it's cool because we know it's there, right? That's driven by us. And it was actually one of my proudest moments for me personally, because that changed education, not only here, the things that actually we work and do, but across the whole US. There are places that we don't work at, we don't benefit from that, but it got kids services they needed, and it prevented probably a horrendous backlog, because now kids actually got a chance to be evaluated.